Section 5 is about historical legacies, geography, and geopolitics. So once again, politics is there, but now at a different scale, at a different level. Here, in this section, we recognize that academic knowledge circulation is not only embedded in the material institutional political economy, but it also carries with it particular historical legacy that affect its epistemic foundations, the actors, the spaces, and the institutional infrastructure. Global history, in this case, has been an ongoing process of mingling, a movement of people, goods, knowledge, culture, religions, and so on. So it's a process that extends far into history and hardly ever was smooth. So when we move to this kind of large or longer period, we discover a different flow of knowledge circulating that may or may not connect with the political economy organization. Usually we assume that they are very, very clearly connected, but actually sometimes infrastructure are challenging the legacies, the historical legacies. Other times, of course, the infrastructure is reinforcing actually those legacies. So besides historical legacy, in particular with regard to the colonial past, current political constellations also call for sensitivity to the power relation. So section 5 focuses on persisting inequalities and hierarchies that affect circulation. Topics like language, again, and translation, but for a more post-colonial perspective, academic case system, how the academic become a group with specific features. When we see this group at the kind of societal level, not within the university, but as part of how the society organizes, actually. Reflexive researchers, how post-colonial and feminist perspective have called into question the figure, the role of researchers themselves, representation, which is a crucial aspect, and also the search for other epistemology, which is not, again, it's not recent, but it's growing in importance. For example, we have a chapter on African epistemology, and we are looking for perhaps another contribution from other regions. We know that this is some of an illustration, because we can actually talk about Latin American epistemology or Middle Eastern epistemology. We can talk about that. We decided to have this African epistemology, which is one of the most powerful in terms of the identity epistemics that is defended. In section 6, we challenge the idea of the university and academic knowledge as confined to the university and to the ivory tower, as they call. And we go to a also long debate about academic and extra-academic or non-academic knowledge circulation. So it's another way of circulating knowledge from the spaces where it is usually produced and circulated to those spaces that are actually, theoretically, they are in demand of this knowledge for different uses, for different reasons. So section 6 focuses on the context and instances in which this knowledge faces, confronts, and intersects with other practices and other logics of knowledge production and validation, which usually, from the point of view of the academia, we call extra-academic perspective. We explore typologies of science-society engagements. We explore the role of newspapers and literary journals throughout history, of consultants and consultancy agencies, the limitations of assuming a neutrality of academic knowledge for policy making, and also confrontations between academia and social movements, and a more inclusive perspective in which science and technology are used for innovation in a more inclusive way, connected with tecnologías sociales and another concept that have emphasized how science and technology are actually in service of larger political, social, economic goals. The important thing here is that the circulation of academic knowledge beyond academia allows certain topics and questions actually to gain some kind of preeminence that perhaps within the academic sector they don't have. I mean, actually is something in between a reality check for knowledge it's something like, okay, is it useful? Actually, it can be used to transform something in the real world, but also it can create what we can call alternative validation systems for knowledge. So the last section of the book is about methodology. We talk about the handbook. We want the handbook to be a tool for graduate students in particular, or junior scholars. And I think, or we thought that it was very important to have a section on methodology, because there are many methodologies to study knowledge circulation. So after receiving contribution and commissioning some specific contribution, we have a section with like 10 chapters. So it's a book in itself, in which we have what we found be 3 different approaches, what we call actor-centered approach, like ethnographic approaches, prosopography, infrastructure, biographies, and so on, which are usually small-scale, situated, and localized cases. Then we have theory-centered approaches. Basically, we are including 2 toolkits, actor network theory and field theory. We think that these 2 theories, they are not the only ones, but they both work in a way that you have to use them in tandem, the methodology and the theory, in order to be able to understand the phenomenon. And then we have text-based approaches, in which the circulation is studied through text. Of course, it goes from bibliometrics to digital text-based approach, like text mining, for example, visualizations, which is becoming an important part of the circulation of knowledge, and also qualitative and hermeneutic text-based methods, in which the text is analyzed in detail, and the different layers of meaning are actually unpacked in the process of understanding the circulation. So this is the structure of the handbook. As I said, is under evaluation or review by University College London Press. And I have to say that during the workshop, it became very interesting, the conversation with authors. This is between brackets, but this I think is important, because authors from, we are talking about around 90 authors writing 57 chapters. So we have a huge book in mind. And I think it's important to mention that we made several decisions together. For example, the decision about the publisher was made with all the authors. We searched for a publisher who could be interested in a handbook, and then we opted for UCLP, because it's a university press, because it's not a commercial press, and because it's open access. So the idea is a powerful idea, because it was not the decision of the editorial committee, but the decision of the author. And connected with this, most authors committed some funds from their institutions, but not just to open their chapters, but to raise money to open the book as such. So I think it's a very important part of the process of editing and writing and publishing a book, to, let me use for the first time the word, decentralize the decision-making process as much as possible and include all the perspectives, because people go or went from, we don't want a commercial publisher, to I don't care if this is open access. So in that range, we heard many different perspectives, and we ended up voting the best option.